His name is Oliver Queen. For 5 years, he was stranded on an island, with one goal on his mind: survive and get back to his home, Starling City, and undo the sins that his family and others have committed onto the city. However, no one said it would be easy. Hey there guys, TheMusicReborn here, but you should probably just call me Bluebrass since that's easier. Here for a review of a show that is very different from what you guys are probably used to seeing a pony like me talk about. But since we are in pony purgatory till season 5 comes out, there's not much to talk about, and since my partner in crime is taking forever to give me lines for our review...
I'm working on it, you goddamn blue-ass unicorn!
Because of all that, I want to just get a review out. I'm also doing this solo because, honestly, I couldn't find anyone that was interested in reviewing this. Which is odd, because this show, especially after the mid-season finale, is probably one of the biggest shows on TV right now. Outside of Zombies and Dragons, of course. It also helps that it's one of the most critically acclaimed superhero shows, along with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Flash. I guess we could throw Gotham in there for good measure. Dang, I realized how many superhero shows I haven't watched. I have a lot of catching up to do. Anywho, why is a TV show about the Green Arrow of all heroes captivated so many critics and even sparked a huge fanbase of its own? Well, let's find out, shall we? Also, minor spoiler warnings here or there. I think the opening of the video kind of summarized the show basically. Oliver Queen, blah blah blah, stuck on an island, blah blah, shoots arrow at people, blah blah blah, sort of the same setup as Batman Begins. Okay, the last part is probably not true since Oliver didn't really want to be like this at the beginning. He was completely forced into it, unlike Bruce Wayne. While not having to go through the entire island part like Queen, he was still looked out for. Nope, not gonna say his name. Pain's still there, still need a few more weeks. Anyways, Oliver isn't alone in his endeavors, as he picks up John Diggle, a war veteran after an Afghanistan tour, and then Felicity Smock, probably one of the smartest women in the entire DC universe that isn't a freaking superhero. Of course, she doesn't have much competition in that regard. Along with them is Roy Harper, who is Oliver's apprentice after a certain event in Season 2 that I will not spoil. He just kinda forces himself onto Oliver's lap. There are so many other characters like Oliver's former girlfriend Laura Lance, who is now working in law, her father who is a detective, as well as other characters who I'm not going to spoil whatsoever. If you're a DC fanboy, there's a chance that you know a lot of these people, even without watching the show. Well, except for maybe one or two. I'm going to jump straight into the characters because they're the reason why I watch the show. Not only is the acting so good, but what each actor brings to the table in terms of acting and just what they're forced to put their bodies through. This is no more true than what's our Green Arrow, Oliver Queen, played by Stephen Amell. I'm just gonna be honest when I say I had no idea who Stephen was before Arrow. The dude basically played a lot of guest roles on TV shows I never watched. Then this comes around and he completely kills it. Like, you think he'd be playing main roles in other TV shows for years. Queen in this is a lot darker than a lot of other retellings or even reimaginings of Queen, except for a few comics maybe that I've never even heard of. I mean, the dude was stuck on an island for 5 years, almost practically getting killed. Okay, well, half of that's true, but I'll get to that later. Also, before I move on, I gotta say, Stefan is a badass. And no, I don't mean that, oh hey, he's a freaking assassin that can kill you without even breaking a sweat in a TV show. No, I mean, the dude can probably do it in real life. The dude does most if not all of his stunts for the show, and he even has a workout that's like the one he does in the show. He's just badass. He's like Tom Cruise, only less crazy in real life, and actually has a chance to be an assassin. I mean, seriously, look at that workout. Of course, a hero is only as good as the people around them, and luckily enough, Arrow has probably the best full cast I've seen since Firefly. Yeah, it's that good. Leading off Arrow's groups of supporters is bodyguard by day, moral support and backup by night, John Diggle, played by David Ramsey. surprised that John's character was added just for the show, because he feels like he's been a part of the DC universe for years. And I'm glad that his popularity has allowed him to be added in even some of the more recent DC comics of Green Arrow. The dude is also a badass. I mean, the dude was a freaking Afghani war vet. I mean, for backup, that's better than a little boy that has "shoot me in the face" written all over him. That doesn't mean that he's perfect in every way, shape, or form. He has his flaws. All great characters have them. Like Oliver, for instance. For Oliver, it was being stuck on an island and having to do horrible stuff. Not only remembering, but coping with the fact that he did that stuff. With Diggle, it was coming back home and feeling useless. Add along with the death of his brother, he still gets very emotional about certain things. He's like an added conscience for Oliver, making sure that Oliver is on the right track without going overboard. Now is Felicity Smock, played by Emily Burt Richards. Again, she's the smart one of the main trio, as I like to call them. She is, however, also 100% nerd. From the first time we see her, heck, to even now. To be honest, I thought I was gonna hate Felicity because she seemed like a one-dimensional character, and I thought she was only gonna show up like 1 or 2 times. But then I saw her the third time, and I was like, oh, so this chick is gonna be important, huh? Probably just a technical support considering her position at Queen Consolidated. Then she actually became a part of the team, and then I saw not only how useful she was, but just how downright fun it is to watch her interact with John and Oliver. Being the least physical, but can definitely outsmart and outwit them if she wanted to. Felicity has a charm to her that I was almost surprised that this kind of character is a part of the group. Then I thought about it more, and Felicity brought much more levity to the team. Sure, she has her down moments like everyone else in the show, and even in that state of being flustered by emotions, she's able to help out. She's a trooper, and her dialogue is perfect to balance out the tone of the show. There are other characters and heck, even actors that are just freaking brilliant in the show, but I don't want to give too much away. Half the fun is seeing a lot of these characters that come and go and, okay, major spoiler, die. Yeah, you don't get attached to a lot of these characters because they will die, most likely. It's not like Game of Thrones Red Wedding type of deaths, but, you know, let's move on before I spoil some more of the characters for you guys, because I know I'm going to do that. I just know it, so next, go! I say the acting is great, but I also have to give props to the writers of the show because they do a great job giving each character life. Hell, even some of the villains. However, as much as I would like to say that the show has perfect writing and storytelling, I gotta say that there are some minor problems, but most of those problems are mainly in the first few episodes of the season. And most shows do have this problem early on trying to figure out their footing. As Josh Scorcher put when he first watched the show, it's kinda like Diet Batman. Okay, first and foremost, this show has a very dramatic tone to it, and a lot of dialogue, if taken the wrong way, can sound really melodramatic. Like this writing early in season 1 made me feel like I was watching a Lifetime soap opera instead of a superhero show. But then the badass moments come in and it sort of negates it. However, by the time the middle of season 1 rolled around, I found the writing to start to improve into what it is now. Now, what do I think about the writing? Well, I think the biggest strengths with this show is the character interaction between a lot of the characters, and the writing helps bring that out. Every character, whether they be allies or foes, there's almost always great dialogue between characters. Some of the stronger ones are just when Oliver is talking to Felicity and Dig, and, you know, they never gave a name to Oliver's hideout, did they? Okay, headcanon. It's gonna be called Quiver. Why? Well, there's a certain comic strip that I kinda think would translate well on the screen. You know, that's another thing I like about this show, and the fact that it's building up to the Green Arrow that we know. Heck, Green Arrow isn't even called Green Arrow at all. When he first starts fighting crime, he just went by the Hood. It wasn't until later in season 2 that he went by Arrow, and even then, for the first 2 seasons, he wasn't built up as a hero, but as a vigilante. Because, well, he will just flat out kill people. It's not till a certain event at the end of season 1 changes that, but still, the writing and the acting does so well with portraying the steps leading up to the creation of the true Green Arrow. Someone that's a vigilante first before becoming a hero, and I love that. It's kind of like what happened with Tim Burton's Batman, or really any kind of good superhero movie or setup story. They set them up as a vigilante or just like an outsider, not a hero first. Half of what makes a good hero to me, at least, is how they came to be a hero in the first place. And if the journey there is not that substantial or all that memorable, it's not going to leave that big of impact on you. I really respect them for making this one of the better incarnations of Arrow, but from starting from scratch with almost everything, they made this the most fun and memorable, thanks to the writing. Speaking of badass, the way the show is shot is badass. I mean, sure, it's probably not using anything new in terms of filming techniques. I'm just a lowly musician. I can nor never will understand such things like that. Still, whatever they do, it just makes everything played badass, especially the fight scenes. Everything is tight, the way the camera moves doesn't cause the fight scenes to be distracting, it's just awesome! Honestly, I haven't seen this much good action and fighting in a live-action TV show in... well, ever! I also have to give props to the fight choreographer for staging a lot of these fights to be so memorable, because again, everything that they do is just so mind-blowingly cool in terms of action, and to have writing and characters that are equally as good and as fun to watch just from them talking? Dude, you got yourself a great show! And just as an added note, I love how they use flashbacks in the show. It fleshes out Queen's character more so we get to see how he became that killer we see in season 1. Not many shows use flashbacks of all things to their advantage, but this one does. Now to the part where I have the most expertise in talking about. And even though the music isn't all that memorable, it's at least very effective in helping the story. I think the main theme is sort of like the Terminator's theme, so simplistic it just gets stuck in your head with the The rest of the music, while not noteworthy, certainly helps the mood when something happens, especially with character deaths. I also like the mix of techno and orchestrated things the music has going for it. It makes itself unique from a lot of other soundtracks because of it. And yes, I mean by TV standards. This is starting to become more and more of a common theme in movies, especially Christopher Nolan movies. But it's nice to see this sort of arrangement be used for a TV show, and a superhero one no less. It just works extremely well. I honestly think that Arrow is arguably the best show running right now. And again, I know a lot of people would make an argument for The Walking Dead or Game of Thrones, but for me, Arrow takes the cake, just for how badass it is, and with how well it handles Oliver Queen's story. The characters have so much depth to them, and even the most damaged characters are able to get some pretty good lines and moments in the show, both bright and dark. I think the thing is that while I was watching the majority of those other shows, there was this almost constant thing of dread and dark and moments that it just didn't leave that much of an impact on me. Except the Red Wedding. That was terrifying on a whole other level. Besides that though, because Arrow has such a good mixture of tone, the darker moments stand out more and help the series stand up more. And honestly, the same can be said with Flash. Though, the only reason why I'm not reviewing that too is because The Flash has only been out for a couple months. So I'll just let that wait. But as for Arrow, I don't think you're gonna find any better writing, characters, acting, action, or even music in any other TV show coming out now. I'm gonna give Arrow 5 out of 5, and my personal recommendation to watch it from the beginning. That way you can see how far the characters have grown and become as the show goes on. Thank you all for watching. This has been Bluebrass. Now it's time to patrol Candlelight for a bit. Later. Before I go, I have a few people I would like to thank. First off, my friend Danny, who goes by Distant Echoing on DeviantArt, for the title card art, and a few other things. I also want to thank my vector artist FreezeChan or FreezePop88 for the new vectors. Also my friend Pegasus Pitch VA for buying most of the new ones. Last but not least, I want to thank my subscribers for helping me be able to get where I am today. I'm glad a lot of you have stayed and helped me with my music and improving to what I have been able to do now. And I'm still going to be writing more and more songs when the time comes. It's just every once in a while, I'll have a review out or something like that. Anyways, I thank you all again for watching. Later.